Hey guys, Miss Warren here. I was talking about, and this is in a series of videos on how to use geometric shapes to create organic shapes or organic forms, because these are three-dimensional. They have height, width, and depth. We were creating texture on our tree. Now, if you are going to be coloring your artwork in, I might wait to add all the texture until you have your color. Or you're ready to color. Also, another tip is if you are coloring, do a light layer maybe of the background color first, so you don't have to go back in between all these little crevices. I would go in between the branches first before I did the leaves if I was coloring the background. Just some tips to think about. So I talked about trees last time. This time I'm going to be talking about how to do geometric forms such as rectangular prisms, cubes, pyramids, and maybe we'll work a little bit of the sphere into like rocks and mountains. So your basic mountain shape, let's talk about mountains. A lot of kids draw mountains like this, just a plain triangle and a series of triangles. This is kind of like a symbol for a mountain, and you kind of get the idea, but this is just a geometric shape. It's not even a form. Now, what makes it look more realistic is rarely do mountains go straight up like that. A lot of times they're wiggledy and they taper off. And they overlap each other. Do you see how this first one is overlapping the second one? And sometimes they go back up again, like that. So the other thing too is that lighting, shading, using the value lightness and darkness will also make this more realistic. I'm gonna make each of these kind of look like a pyramid, like you see up here, by putting a wiggledy line down the middle of the part at the point. And if we choose our light source, everything, let's say on this side will be dark and everything on that side of the line will be light. You see how they're already looking more 3D? Now, if you wanted to get a little more complicated, you could put a few little wiggledy lines coming off this main line, and maybe like a few little like wiggledy lines coming off the edge to show the cracks in the valleys, maybe where the water has eroded the mountains. But now you have to think of, with each new little triangle you made, which is the darker side. So this would be like a little bit dark, but this here where you have two triangles, there's more shadow, so it would be more dark. Here is like really dark. This one would have a little bit of shadow on this side. I'm gonna put a few little more cracks over here. So do you see how that looks more like a realistic mountain range instead of just the symbol for mountains? So rocks are kind of similar. So this would be like a background. This would be something in the midground. If you were doing a scenery, this would be background. Now let's look at some detailed stuff that you would see in the foreground, like a rock. So if you think about a cube, it's a little too perfect. So we're gonna take this cube and we're gonna make the sides loose and wiggledy. So I'm gonna make this side big and this side kind of slanted, and this side not straight. There we go. And then I'm gonna like slant down the top because maybe it fell and broke. And then I have this side kind of wiggledy. Now we're gonna do something similar to the mountains. If the light is coming from this direction, this part will be light, this part will be dark, and this part will be medium. Now, if we got a more complex rock shape, maybe like a bundle of rocks, I'm gonna just like do like wiggledy kind of cube shapes, maybe like ones with more surfaces. Like, look, this has like 2 layers. And I'm gonna shade this one a little bit because it's hiding behind that rock and that rock is blocking the light. And this down here is on the opposite side of the light. I'm gonna trim off this corner because very rarely do you see sharp corners in nature. That make that look a little more rock-like, and maybe have another like little out jutting here, so then it's even darker this way, like it broke off of a larger rock. So there you have some simple rocks kind of based off of a cube. Just maybe make a cube and add a few more sides to it and then shade it in, make the sides super wiggly and don't use a ruler, and there you have it. I'll come back in my next video and I'll talk about using color and not just black and white in order to create these things, because a lot of this texture, like how I colored it in here, if you were going to use colored pencil, you would do that part in colored pencil. So I'll see you in the next video. Give this a try and I look forward to seeing your work.